Good morning. I'm Eric Isaacs, Provost at the University of Chicago, and I'd like to welcome everybody, and a special welcome to our guest, Dr. Muhammad Yunus. As we take this time to reflect on our 125th anniversary here at the university, it is really particularly fitting that we welcome a pioneer in finance and a man who has used knowledge and innovation to really positively impact the lives of some of the world's most vulnerable citizens, and someone whose contributions have also been recognized with the Nobel Peace Prize. As President Zimmer reminded us earlier this week, William Rainey Harper envisioned the University of Chicago as a natural partner for both the city's highest ambitions and its need to address the well-being of the most vulnerable members of our community. Our faculty, students, and staff have made deep contributions to the city from the 1890s to the present. From Charles Henderson, who worked with Jane Addams at Hull House to provide a place for newly arrived immigrants here in this country in the earliest 20th century, to Sofonisba Breckenridge and Edith Abbott, who helped establish Chicago's School of Civics and Philanthropy, which ultimately became the School of Social Services Administration at the university. And as many of you know, that school is dedicated not only to social science research, but the training of hundreds of social workers who have helped ensure that innovation and inquiry at the University of Chicago have provided a pathway out of poverty for citizens of Chicago and those around the world. Today, the university's engagement in the city of Chicago and around the world and its communities has never been stronger. Our hosts today represent 4 of our latest efforts to demonstrate the university's continued contribution to translate rigorous research into social impact. The Urban Poverty Lab, one of 5 recently established urban labs here at the university that develop evidence-based solutions to fundamental problems in the city. The Chicago Innovation Exchange that brings together faculty and students with an interest in entrepreneurship and innovation, and of course a deep home here at the Booth School of Business. The Social Enterprise Initiative here at the Booth School of Business that supports aspirations of faculty, students, and alumni to impact social issues, and the Institute of Politics that provides extracurricular programs designed to support our students and with a passion for politics and public service. It is really our challenge to resist complacency. We should look at the past for inspiration and as a motivation to learn more and to do more. And I look forward to hearing from Dr. Yunus, whose tireless entrepreneurship is an inspiration for us all. To introduce our speaker, I'm pleased to welcome a colleague whose work is constantly moving between inquiry and impact. Marianne Bertrand is the Chris P. Dialinas Distinguished Service Professor of Economics here at the University of Chicago Booth School of Business. Professor Bertrand is an applied microeconomist whose research covers the fields of labor economics, corporate finance, and development economics. She is winner of several awards, including the Rosen Prize in Labor Economics, and she is fellow of the American Academy of the Arts and Sciences. She translates her research into social impact in many ways, including through her work as co-director of Chicago Booth's Social Enterprise Initiative and as director of the Urban Poverty Lab. Marianne?
Thanks a lot, Eric, and thanks to all of you for being here. I feel particularly proud to be a member of this university only like today, just with a crowd like this, for an event as important as this one. And I think, as Eric said, one thing that makes this place special, both in terms of the faculty, the students, is this tight link that we try to create between research and impact. I think most of us on this campus do not believe that research is an end goal, but research should really matter in that it could change the world and make it a better place. So I would like to take a few minutes to just tell you a bit more about 2 of the particular initiatives on campus that I'm directly involved in that really try to be inspired by this tight link between research and impact. So I'll talk about the two hats that I wear on a daily basis. One of them is that I'm the faculty director of the Poverty Lab at the Urban Labs. The Urban Labs is a really brand new venture that started less than 6 months ago. The role of the urban labs at the University of Chicago is really to try to develop evidence-based solutions to fundamental problems that confront cities around the world, from health to education to crime to poverty. The particular hat I wear is really that of the faculty director of the Poverty Lab, and our focus at the Poverty Lab is really to think about creative solutions to try to break what looks like an endless cycle of intergenerational I'll restart. Intergenerational poverty and for people that live in disadvantaged areas in cities. The model that we follow at the Urban Labs is one that relies on close partnership with policymakers and practitioners to try to answer questions. And we try to bring the analytical expertise, the analytical capabilities that we have as faculty members to try to help those partners, government partners, nonprofit partners, provide better evidence to the decision-making process and empower them with solutions. We are currently operating in Chicago, but in the less than 6 months we've been alive, we've also already kind of reached out to many other cities throughout the US, Los Angeles, New Orleans, and we are working on many, many concrete questions that policymakers are facing, from trying to develop better, more effective approaches for workforce development programs to trying to better target services for the homeless or the soon-to-be homeless using predictive analytics technique, to trying to identify tools to close what is a huge financial literacy gap between the poor and middle class and the richer households within cities. In addition to the work that I'm doing in the Poverty Lab, I'm also extremely proud to be involved with the Social Enterprise Initiative, one of the 2 faculty directors with Rob Gertner. SCI really has at its goal to support the social impact aspirations of our students and our alums. These are really, this is the central mission that we are looking into, from trying to support students that want to make a career, boost students that want to make a career in the social sector, to students that may not want to make a career in the social sector but are really interested in contributing to the social sector, for example, through some kind of board position in a nonprofit sector. So we really try to facilitate the aspirations of our students and our alums in terms of the involvement with solving social problems. One of the largest programs that we have here at SCI is called the John Edwardson Social New Venture Challenge. The Social New Venture Challenge was heavily influenced by an old, very outstanding program we have here at the business school, which is a business launch program for traditional for-profit ventures, which is the Kaplan New Venture Challenge. What we do in the Social New Venture Challenge is that we essentially empower students at the business school, but really throughout this campus, and we really try to create the link throughout campus. And we empower the students to conceptualize, develop, and launch new for-profit or not-for-profit ventures, but ventures that have as an ultimate goal to try to deal with social problems and have social impact. We've had 6 years of experience, and we've seen lots of exciting projects coming out of this Social New Venture Challenge. I'll just give you 2 examples. 2012 winner was Luminate. Luminate basically was a company that developed a fantastic product, a very simple solar-powered lamp that can pack flat and can inflate to create a lightweight, waterproof lantern that is suitable for outdoor recreation. I can attest to that. I used it for camping recently, but maybe more importantly, in emergency situations. Luminate was founded by one of our current students, Andrea Shrestra. She developed the light in partnership with a friend during a trip in Haiti in the aftermath of the 2010 earthquake. Luminate has been a tremendous success. By 2014, by last year, they had hit $1 million in revenue. There are about 12,000 of those lights right now around the world in 50 countries, including Haiti, including in Nepal, where they went after the earthquake, including in the Philippines. They are being used by multiple organizations such as Doctors Without Borders, the United Nations, etc. Last year, winner of the Social New Venture Challenge was in a very different area, but also very much a social impact organization. The name was Ballot Ready. It was very much a cross-campus success story. It had students from really all over campus. Ballot Ready is an online and mobile election guide which allows voters to quickly and easily access non-partisan information on the candidates and issues that will appear on their ballots. Before taking part in the Social New Venture Challenge, Ballot Ready received support and mentoring as a student civic engagement project with the Institute of Politics, which is one of our hosts today. This summer, Ballot Ready's founders took part in the Polsky Center's accelerator program, and they worked from the Chicago Innovation Exchange, again, showing the richness of the environment that we provide here for supporting innovation. Today, the Ballot Ready team is hard at work expanding the database to start covering other states than Illinois, looking in Indiana, Kentucky, and Virginia. In addition to all the student alumni programming that we do, the Social Enterprise Initiative is really also interested in fostering research in the social sector. And we have as a broader goal not just to think about isolated impact of one program versus another one, but really think about the whole ecosystem that is in place to try to foster and improve social outcomes. Thinking about how nonprofits kind of relate to one another, how they relate to the public infrastructure that is being provided, how kind of philanthropy is kind of linked into this whole ecosystem. I should also say that, kind of SEI and the Poverty Lab are the two examples that I've been, kind of providing to you because those are the ones that are the closest to my heart. Those are the ones that keep me busy every day. It's very, very clear that the ecosystem for social impact at the university is way broader than that, and there are many other players, including many of our co-hosts today, the Chicago Innovation Exchange, the Institute of Politics, and the Office of the President at the university. So now, on behalf of all of these partners, I would like to introduce our distinguished speakers. Professor Muhammad Yunus joins us today for an in-depth discussion on global poverty, the complex and tenacious problem that he has spent much of his life working to end. He is widely considered the father of both social business and microcredit. Professor Yunus won the 2006 Nobel Peace Prize for his founding and pioneering microfinance institution, the Grameen Bank. He's the author of numerous books, including Creating a World Without Poverty, Social Enterprise, and Capitalism. Moreover, Fortune magazine has named him one of the greatest entrepreneurs of all time. Professor Yunus currently chairs the Yunus Center, a resource center and think tank related to social businesses. Today's conversation with Professor Yunus will be moderated by Steve Edwards, who is the executive director at the Institute of Politics. Prior to joining the Institute of Politics, Steve Edwards spent nearly 14 years at WBEZ, Chicago's NPR member station, where he served in a variety of roles, including as a host of the afternoon shift and 848. So now I'm done. So please join me in welcoming Professor Muhammad Yunus to the University of Chicago. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I'm delighted to be here. I'm very honored to be here. Particularly excited because I see my friend Ron Grzinski in the audience. I should give you the background a little bit. We started in 1976, the Grameen Bank, in a small village back next to the university campus in Chittagong. Then we expanded it to another area because I was challenged to show that it can be done away from the university campus. So I was relocated in the northern part of Bangladesh in the village. But someone in the Ford Foundation thought some Chicago bankers should come and examine whether this is really banking what we do. Because everybody says, this doesn't sound like banking. Guess who came? Ron Grzinski came from South Shore Bank. And his colleague, Mary Houghton, came. And we are a tiny little thing, a big banker coming from Chicago to examine us, whether we are a bank. What we do sounds like banking. And I remember both of them have traveled all the villages to see what we do, explain everything, ask a lot of tough questions. Luckily, Ron has a terrible cold. He could hardly speak, but still he will not give up. And that gave us a very good understanding what banking is, what we do really sounds like banking, looks like banking, and they certified us very warmly. Not only that, they became a convert to start the Grameen replication in Chicago, way back, 1982, probably 1981, 82, about this time. That was known as Women's Self-Development Project, something like that. So this is a link that we have with Chicago and our work. And this became our lifelong friendship over many, many years. We worked together. So I'm very happy to see him here after a long time. Thank you, John, for coming. And I would like to just, it's not a discussion really that I will be making on. I'll just kind of walk through the work that I have done, what I have done, and what prompted me to do the things I did, what prompted me to say the things I say. And I was just mentioning a little while ago that I make up my own rules. So I'm a very free person. You don't have to agree with me at all. Don't feel any way obliged. I don't want to try to convince you or anything. All I'm saying, what I did, what I thought, and what I think. Feel free to reject it, dismiss it. I've been dismissed all my life, so it's no problem with me. That's good. But I keep on doing the things that I do. One was a microcredit. Again, this was a simple thing. It's not a complicated kind of afterthought or a pre-planned thing. We were in a disaster situation in Bangladesh. It's a country going through extreme famine, hundreds of thousands of people dying of hunger. And here I am teaching elegant theories of economics in the classroom. So that shocked me, that what I teach in the classroom has no meaning whatsoever with the people who are dying outside. I cannot do anything for them. So I felt totally useless person, that I learned something which has no use for people. So I thought I should forget all those things. Why don't I go out and be with the people, see if there is something I can do, make myself feel useful to somebody, even for one day. So that's what I was trying to do, and luckily the university that I was teaching in Bangladesh was next to the village. So I don't have to go across the city to go to a village. It's just go across the boundary of the university campus and you are right in the village. And I did that every day, and this is what I was doing, to find ways how to find a person that I can make myself useful for that day. And I did a lot of little things, but I feel a little bit better that at least I'm trying to do something. Then I faced something which made me feel very, very ugly inside of me because of the way the loan sharking was going on in the village. And you don't only hear it, you see the person who is the victim of the loan shark, you see the person who is the loan shark, and you talk to him. He looks like a decent guy, but he does the cruelest thing that a human being can do to another human being. And it does it very casually, very as if that's the way it is done, and there's nothing wrong with it. But in the meantime, the people's life become absolutely unbearable by giving these tiny loans to the individual people. So first I tried to list them, how many people, how much money, et cetera, then I gave up. It's so silly, the amount is so silly that it makes no sense why people have to suffer so much for so little. So what I did, suddenly it came to my mind, I cannot solve the problem of the world, but definitely I can solve the problem of the few people in this village. Why don't I lend the money myself? If I lend the money myself, they don't have to go to loan shark, their problem is solved, they are protected from the loan shark. Very simple idea. I got very excited about it and started lending right away, and out of my own pocket. I didn't have to go and talk to anybody. So I did that, and it became very popular. The more popular it became, more excited I got. I thought I'm doing something which makes sense to people. So I literally pour out all the money that I had. As months go by, I started running out of my money. Then I was thinking, what should I do? How do I proceed? I was thinking very sharply because I have to come up with a quick solution, but otherwise the whole thing will stop or come to a trickle because I can get the money back few of it and then relend it, but that doesn't expand very much. I wanted to keep on expanding because lots of people are waiting for me. So I went to the bank, which is located in the campus, to tell them they should lend the money rather than me doing it. They said, impossible. Bank doesn't lend money to poor people. So that created a huge debate between me and the bank. First the bank manager there, and then expanded to the rest of the banking community. And they will not change their mind. And I became very aggressive, very nasty. Ever since I'm very nasty to the bankers. I never gave it that up. But it didn't resolve anything. It only built up the hostility between me and the bankers. But finally what I did, because I needed the money, to open the door of the bank. So I proposed to them, why don't accept me as a guarantor? I'll sign all the papers, and I take the risk, and they give the money. If people don't pay back, I pay back. It was not an easy thing for them to swallow, but they looked at it, and I was in the meantime campaigning against the entire banking system in Bangladesh. So in order for them to stop me, they thought this is the best option, to accept it. And they knew exactly this was going to fail, and their calculation probably, they didn't tell me that, their calculation was, okay, we accept him as a guarantor, soon it's going to fail, and then he has to pay all the money. Then he will realize that what it means to lend money to poor people, and he will keep his mouth shut ever after that. But their expectation didn't turn out right, because people were paying back. It was expanding. All I'm doing is signing merrily. It never stopped. And if my signature can bring money for people, I got very excited that they are taking, and they are paying every penny back. I was amazed the way it happened. But as it grew, bankers became very reluctant. No longer they want to accept my signature. They started raising questions. So I said, forget it. Why don't I create a bank for myself? And that's the question when Ron and Mary came over to see whether it can turn into a bank at all. So they first asked me how to make the projections. I had no idea what the projection. I never made any projection. I just do it as it comes. So they were telling me how to do the projections. And there was no computer in those days, so making handwritten things, doing that. I remember it's a tough job. They assigned me, and I did that. And I think I passed that exam for him. But we came up with an idea. This is how we were going to do that, and so on. So today, Grameen Bank is a reality. It's a big bank, nationally operating all over Bangladesh. We created a bank in 1983. It started in 76, became a full bank in 1983 as an independent bank. Now it operates in every single village of Bangladesh, more than 80,000 villages. We have 8.5 million borrowers, mostly women, 97% women. And last year, 2014, the bank lent out over $1.5 billion in local currency. So it grew a big one. But the most interesting thing happened last year. I think I should report to Ron about that. He was interested in projection. This is a projection we never made, but this is what happened. Last year's interesting thing happened. Right from the beginning, in the very early days, we made sure everybody has a savings account. Not only we give loan, they have to open a savings account for every single poor person. First, they didn't understand what the savings account, how do I do that, what kind of thing that will be, can I get my money back? So we had to explain, but finally they agreed. And now it became a routine, everybody has savings account. It started with a fraction of a cent to save every week. And they did that. We hope that someday it will be a little bit of money for them, their own money will be growing into that. Last year, something interesting happened. We lent out over $1.5 billion. The total savings balance of all the borrowers of Grameen Bank far exceeded $1.5 billion, nearly $2 billion of their own deposits. So this is not what we were expecting that someday it will happen. And the relationship between the bank and the borrower has changed now. I keep telling the staff of Grameen Bank, I said, you should change your language now. You say, we have so many borrowers, we have this, our borrowers do this. I said, they are no longer borrowers. They are lenders. They lend money to you because you have more money from them than the money that you gave them. So this is a kind of, took all these years to come to realization of that. So this is an exciting thing, and the work we do became known as microcredit and expanded. Today we work in the United States. We call it Grameen America. 6 years back it started. No, 8 years back it started in New York City. Now we have 8 branches in New York City. We have branches in other cities, in Los Angeles, San Francisco, Indianapolis, and many other places, Omaha, Nebraska, Charlotte, North Carolina, and all that. 18 branches. We have over 65,000 borrowers, 100% women, 100% repayment, 99.6% repayment over all these years. Nothing changed. Exactly the way we do it in Bangladesh, we do it here. In the same way, it could expand further, but the problem here in the United States, we are not a bank. We cannot take deposits. So as a result, money has to come from outside. So that kind of a limiting factor for that. The point that I was going to make, I learned a lot from this. And I made up my own mind. People are very critical of what I do. So they accuse me, they criticize me, and all that. One of the things people are saying, you can lend money only to the entrepreneurial poor. I said, I don't understand what is entrepreneurial poor. I thought I'm lending money to the poor people. I never distinguished who is entrepreneurial, who is not. Every woman that we go to, usually she said, don't give the money to me. I don't know what to do with money. I never touched money in my life. Why don't you give it to my husband? Do you call her an entrepreneurial poor? I don't know, but I gave it to her. My colleagues, my students who are working with me and my students, the whole story is between me and my students. We are the ones who are doing all these things. They keep complaining that why are you pushing this money to the poor women, because they don't want to take money. They said they have no way they know how to use the money. We should give the money to the husband. So I kept telling them, I said, when a woman says, I don't know what to do with money, I'm afraid of money, always remember this is not her voice. This is the voice of the history which made her. And history that went through her is a history of fear. Ever since she was born, she was told that you brought misfortune to the family because you are a girl. You should have been a boy. So she was very apologetic ever since, because everybody says you did the wrong thing by being a girl, as if she has any control over it. But that's the way family treated her, society treated her. This was wrong. So fears after fears kind of surrounded her. She grew up in a kind of apologetic way. Sorry, I'm a girl, and I'm sorry for that. And she never wanted to make any waves of any kind so that people can forget about her. She lives as if she doesn't exist. And now you're going there telling her we want to give money, and she will be jumping to take money from you? No way. Our job is to go again and again to make sure layers of fear are taken off one by one layer after another, hoping that someday the real person can emerge from it and see, maybe I should try. Once that happens, then something starts happening around her. If he's successful, her neighbors become very curious. How should they do that? Excuse me. And they will become curious to see, can she really pay back the money? And if she pays back the money, and secretly everybody will say, maybe I should try something like that. So that's the opening of the whole thing. It took us 6 years from the beginning to come to the 50-50 level, because our initial position was we must have 50% of the borrower as women. Why did we make that decision? Because, as I said, I was very nasty against the banking system in Bangladesh. I was accusing them, they were wrong because they refused to lend money to poor people. They are wrong, but they refused to lend money to women. And I gave them the statistics. Not even 1% of all the borrowers of all the banks put together happen to be women. I said, you are totally wrong. Your system is screwed up. It doesn't make sense to people. So when I began, I wanted to make sure people don't accuse me of the same thing. I wanted to make sure half the borrowers are women. That's why I'm encouraging my students to go out to the women, encourage them to join. Now that we have done that, we are very excited. Then we noticed that money that going to the family through women brought so much more benefit to the family than the same amount of money going to the family through men. So we asked ourselves, why are we concentrating on 50-50 policy? Why don't you just open it up? concentrate on women. And then we started concentrating on women. That's how we became 97% women over time. Today, 97% women. When we come to United States, we forgot about 97. It's 100% women. So all the borrowers that we have in the United States are women. When idea of microcredit spilled over from Bangladesh to other countries, microcredit became synonymous as a small loan to the poor women for income generating activity. They don't even mention men anymore. So this is how effectively it works for the poor women because of the impact that it makes on the family and so on. As we go through that, we see a lot of other problems in the families of the poor. First of the family problem that we see is a health related issue. If you are poor in health. It goes together. You don't have to come as a separate issue. You see the sign in the children first. You see the sign in the women. Absolutely same everywhere. So we had to concentrate on the children issue first. One of the first issues that we had to handle was the issue of night blindness. Every family that I go and meet them, because it was small, so I could go and talk to them, I see children can't see after the sun goes down. And I was shocked because I had no idea such a thing existed. So I talked to the doctors, medical practitioners, what is this problem? They said, well, it's called night blindness. I said, can it be cured? Yes, it can be cured. This is caused by vitamin A deficiency. If you give them vitamin A tablets, this will disappear. Or you can encourage them to eat vegetables. So we took the vegetable option. We encouraged them to eat vegetables. So we explained to them how to overcome this. We thought they understood. A few months later, we go back, see, nothing happened. Still the night blindness state. So I said, did you feed your children with vegetables? No, we didn't have the vegetables. Why? Because we didn't have the seed. So we said, okay, we'll bring you seeds. So I started selling seeds, put them in little sachet of 1 penny, each variety of seed, and started selling it, so that it doesn't become a burden on the bank by giving free distribution of seeds. We wanted to sell it, cover the cost. As Grameen Bank grew, our seed business grew. At one point when we grew big enough, we became the largest vegetable seed seller in the country. By that time, night blindness disappeared in the country. Today, you go and talk to people, ask about night blindness, they will look at each other, understand what is it? Never heard of it. It doesn't exist. So it was a simple thing, just vegetables. It was not doctor, it's not nurses, it's not clinics, nothing. Just simply an idea and bring it to people. One of the basic principles of Grameen Bank, people should not come to the bank should go to people. So we are always going to the people. We meet all those 8.5 million borrowers within a week at their doorstep. So it's easy for us to carry those seeds packets and sell it to them. And then over time, we did a lot of such things. Every time I see a problem in those poor families, my natural reaction is I create a business to solve that problem. So I keep on creating business after business, company after company. I created more than 50, 60 companies on the way. Some of them became nationwide, became very big. One example is one on the electricity. Bangladesh doesn't have electricity. So we created a solar energy company, called it Grameen Shakti or Grameen Energy, to bring solar energy for homes, to sell it to the villagers because they don't have electricity. In the beginning, everybody said, are you crazy bringing solar energy to Bangladesh? Nobody will get involved with this. It's too expensive for them. I said, I'll try. If people it makes sense to people, they will get to it. So we created a company, started selling it. Selling 3-4 solar home systems per month was such a big struggle to explain to them, make them pay for this unit and so on. But we continued. It gradually improved. People become more and more interested. 18 years later, we have reached a position where we sell more than 1,000 solar home systems per day. Today, we have 1.6 million homes with solar energy, with a solar home system. And every day, it keeps on increasing. And we create these companies not for making money for ourselves, but just to make sure people's problems are solved. And people keep asking questions, why do you do that? Because I said, I enjoy it. I can do that. I can create a business. It's a sustainable thing. I could have done it as a charity. I can give free solar home system, take some donor money and give them solar home system. But I can do for 100, I can do for 200. If it is free, you cannot afford to do it more. Then I thought, why don't I make it as a business proposition so that they pay back and I take the money to buy more and sell it back to them. I said, charity is a great idea. It solves people's problems. But one limitation of charity is charity money goes out, does a wonderful work, the money doesn't come back. So you have only one-time use of your money. I thought of creating a business model out of it. Objective is the same, but I put a business engine behind it. And then make it a proposition where the money comes back. So I can reuse the money. And I call this mechanism of business as a social business. It distinguishes itself from the money-making business because there is no intention of making money. That intention is removed from the whole idea, whole process. So we call it non-dividend company to solve human problems. And that's what the social business that we call today becoming bigger and bigger. So in charity, money goes, it doesn't come back. In social business, money goes out, it comes back. So you have unlimited use of the same money because each turn it comes back and you can send it back again, it never stops. And then you create a business which grows by itself. Each time you do the business, and that business has its own life. This is organic growth of its own future. So that is more exciting for me. So I created business after business to do that. We have done lots of things on the healthcare side. And then we have joint ventures coming from big companies. Big companies became interested in the idea of social business. I had no idea that I thought this is something nobody will care for. But I was surprised that some big companies approached us to do the social business. First company that came forward was Danone from Paris, from France. We decided to work together. They approached us and we created a joint venture to address the problem of malnutrition among the children of Bangladesh. Malnutrition is prolific in Bangladesh. Everywhere you see the children are malnourished. 48% of the children are malnourished in Bangladesh. So what we did, we created a very special kind of yogurt. Danone is good in making yogurts, but this is a special yogurt they had to make to address the problem of malnutrition. What they did, they put all the micronutrients which are missing in the children into the yogurt. Vitamin, iron, zinc, iodine, and all that. And if you put all those micronutrients in a small cup of yogurt, I can bet you it will taste very ugly. Children will not come anywhere near it. It is the technology of Danone to how to suppress ugly taste and bring a good taste for the children. So they experimented with the taste which the children of Bangladesh love. So when they saw that in general this is the one favored by everybody, they used that taste and the yogurt became very popular. Now we run that company and use the children buy it. We have a separate marketing system so that we can go to the poor families. They don't come to the grocery shop to buy the grocery. So we have to go to the families, each one, by women selling yogurts, village, house by house, so that every child can have access to these yogurt. So that's one example of multinational company joining hands in a social business. Then it opened up the door for other multinational companies. We have joint ventures with Veolia Water Company to bring water. We have joint ventures with Uniqlo from Japan. We have joint ventures with BASF of Germany. We have joint ventures with Intel Corporation, USA. We have joint ventures with McCain, Canada, and so on. So this is another series of things which came out of it. And it became interesting for universities many universities became very interested in our work, particularly because students became very interested in the idea. They prompted the faculty and the authority, why don't you have our courses done on social business? So many universities now have courses on social business. Some business schools have set up chairs on social business, an institute of social business, and so on. So that's another kind of parallel development that goes on. Particularly HSE in France, they created a chair on social business. Along with the chair, they have created something called action tank, unlike the think tank. In that action tank, what they have done, they brought all the French big companies, CEO level, to meet every 3 months so that they can discuss which each company is doing to create a new social business. So they come up with ideas, they make presentations, they discuss in the gathering, and this is being discussed in the classroom. What they are discussing, students can give feedback into that discussion. So this is another thing. Out of that, a series of social business were created in France, coming from the HSE business schools and so on. Why social business became so important for me or for everybody else who are interested in that? I raised a fundamental issue out of that. I said the whole economic theoretical framework that we built is built on a wrong premise. In that theory, they have misinterpreted human beings. As a result of this distortion of the interpretation, we created a distorted society, distorted economic world. What is this distortion that I find? I said they interpreted human being as a selfish being and built the whole economic theory on the selfishness of human being. So their critical factor is the selfishness. So the entire business world is built on the selfishness. We want to make money. We want to maximize our profit. The question that I kept raising, I said human being may be many different things. For sure, they are not money-making robots. Human beings are not kind of a single-dimensional being. And to make them as a money-making robot is an insult to human being. But the entire theory is built on that. I said, first of all, human being is a multidimensional being. So theory has done a big damage in building something on one dimension. So I said, why don't we build it at least in 2 dimensions as an exercise? I said, human beings are selfish. At the same time, they are selfless. So there is economic theory for selfish being, but there's no theory for selfless being. Theoretician will say, if you want to be selfless, why don't you go and become a philanthropist? I said, no, I don't want to become a philanthropist. I want to stay in the business world and express my selflessness. So that's where what I have done, unknowingly, probably this is an expression of the selfless being. So I created a business which is based on selflessness. In selfish business, everything is for me, nothing for others. In selfless business, everything is for others, nothing for me. So it can work both ways. You can be, as a human being, I'm a selfish person. At the same time, I'm a selfless person. Why can't I have 2 businesses? I run the selfish business, I make money. I run the selfless business, I solve problems. So that way, I use my creative power in 2 ways. In the process, I solve the problem of the world. Because I am creative, all the creative ideas that come to address the problems of the world. Human being has unlimited creative power, limitless creative power. But all this creative power we exploit among ourselves is used only for selfish purposes. So we pile up problems. Imagine if we could use all our creative power exclusively to solving our problems. I can bet you all our problems will be solved in a very decent way, in a very sustainable way. But we don't do that because we have no door open for that. So here in the social business, I'm opening the door. With that door, suddenly you feel you can do that. You can exclusively do selfless business. You can do exclusively selfish business. You can do both businesses, selfish business and selfless business. All I'm saying that maybe you should not mix the both in one business. Then you are confused. Whether you are doing the selfish business or you are doing the selfless business. Why didn't you keep them separate? Easy. When you are doing selfless business, you are exclusively dedicated to that purpose. So we do lots of those kind of selfless businesses. Young people love it. They come with beautiful ideas and create those businesses one after another. We now work in many different countries, in Brazil, in Colombia, in Haiti, and so on. In Haiti, one of the big projects that we have, big business we just set up as a social business, Haiti lost all its forest. It has only 2% of the forest left in Haiti because people chop up the trees to make charcoal for cooking purposes. When I was told, when I'm visiting, I said, that's a big shame that you destroyed all the forest. So we sat down, we discussed this with the government, with agencies, with everybody else. I said, why don't we create a social business to reforest Haiti? Forestry is a very good income generating activity. So if you can generate income, it becomes a business, social business, can be done. So we created a company called Haiti Forest. Now we have lots of investors into it as a social business. Nobody wants to make money. But the whole purpose is to reforest Haiti. So this is the beginning of that process. There are many simple things. Like in Albania, just to give example what the social business is. They produce in the mountains, beautiful country. They produce jam, jelly, like many people in the villages do. Honey, because there are lots of good honey. But they put it in a throwaway water bottle. They put the honey into it and sell it in the local market. They take the throwaway cosmetic containers, put jam and jelly in those, and sell it in the local market. But they don't have the containers. So one young person come up, he said, I want to create a marketing company as a social business. What are we going to do? I will put standard container for jam, container for jelly, and put a brand name onto it, and give it to them, and give them a standard container for honey, and give a good leveling for them. And they will fill them up, and I'll collect them and sell them at the market directly to the consumers, so that no middleman can take away their money, and bring the money back to them. As a social business, I'm not interested in making money. All I'm interested in making sure they get the fair return for them. So now this is a social business. They run it, just a small business. That's a good idea. But this is a kind of a small beginning of a big issue. All agriculture has the same problem. Producer doesn't get any return. Consumers pay a lot. You pay a lot for a cup of coffee. Coffee grower gets a fraction of a cent out of it, or whatever that little money for the cup. Somebody else gets the money. I said, why can't we create a social business? Bring the coffee from the coffee grower, sell it to the final market, bring the money back to them. I'm a social business. I'm not interested in making money for myself. All I want to do is to make sure they get a good return. Cocoa growers get pennies, but you pay a lot for the chocolate. Cotton growers get pennies, but you pay a lot for the cotton cloths. You go on item by item, it's the same thing. There is something called shea nut grown in Ghana, in the jungles. Poor women enter the jungles, all day work, collect all those nuts, bring it out, sell it to the local market, get pennies out of it. But then it changes hand, go to the still bigger market, and finally the exporter who sells it to L'Oreal. And L'Oreal makes shea butter, expensive item, worldwide, very coveted skincare product. People pay a lot. But the women who collected these nuts to make that, they didn't get anything. So we created a company, negotiated with the L'Oreal, that why don't we collect it for you and bring it to you, and all the processing that you expect us to do, we'll do it, but you buy it from us. And then we bring the money back to the producers who they get, minus the cost of the operation and so on. So now this is the beginning of a company to do that. So the problems is so simple, but we don't notice it. So people suffer because it's a conventional thing. We have to make money, be busy with it. Once we direct our mind to solve problems, suddenly many issues keep emerging from that. A simple thing, every step you can do that, can resolve problems. I said, take the case of welfare. I said, why can't we take 5 welfare people out of welfare by creating a social business? A business where they get decent salaries and so on, have a business, it runs. I get my money back as a social business. It continues, but 5 welfare people having decent life for them. They don't have to be dependent on somebody's charity. So I could take at least 5 people out of welfare. If I know how to take 5 people out of welfare, I know how to take 5 million people out of welfare, same way. Another thing, then I'll stop. Coming back to Grameen Bank. The second generation of Grameen Bank, young people, wanted to make sure everybody goes to school, because their parents, all 8.5 million of them, are illiterate, basically illiterate. Hardly they can read and write. So we wanted to make sure the children don't miss the school. So the history of illiteracy stopped with their parents. It will not spill over to the next generation. And we did that. Everybody went to school, we make sure they go to school. And then they want to go to college because they finish high school. And it's expensive, there's money needed. So we said, don't worry about money. Grameen Bank, your mother's bank, has plenty of money. We'll give you education loan. So we give education loan, they get a good education. But no jobs. Bangladesh doesn't have jobs. To all these hundreds of thousands and millions of young people coming from the poor families of no jobs. In the beginning, I couldn't respond to their kind of anger that there's no job. What do we do? Then I turned around the whole conversation. Anytime they will say, what do I do? There's no job for me. And I got kind of fake a little anger. I said, who's told you to have a job? Did your teacher tell you to have a job? Didn't you go to school? Yes, I did. Did your teacher tell you to have a job? He has no answer. The books that you read, did they tell you to have a job? He has no answer. I said, forget about this. Job is an old-fashioned idea. It's an obsolete idea. It belonged to old centuries. It should have stopped there. Why did you bring it to this century? You are children of this century. They get puzzled. What is this century is doing now? Nobody told me. I said, in this century, what you'll be telling yourself, I'm not a job seeker, I'm a job creator. Think like a job creator. Don't think like a job seeker. Job seeking is a very lowly job. You're at the mercy of other people. Why should you be at the mercy of anybody? You are a human being. You're full of energy, full of creative power. Use your power to take care of yourself and take care of the rest of the people. That's what the human beings are all about. Not be dependent on something. So be a job creator. Oh, that doesn't solve his problem. What we did, we created a social business fund and tell all the young people, come with a business idea, any business, and bring it to us. We become your investor. We become your partner. You lead the way, you run the business, we'll be your partner, sleeping partner. If you're successful, you return the money that I gave you. Because in social business, I don't want to take your profit out of it. You just return the money what I gave you, and we launched you to the orbit. You go on your own. And if you next round you want to do expansion, come back, explain to us what you need. Now hundreds and hundreds of young people keep coming with business ideas every day. In the beginning, they were saying, oh, I don't have a business idea. They didn't teach us any business idea. We just learned math and history and we didn't teach business idea. I don't know how to run a business. I said, shame on you. Look at your mother. She's an illiterate woman. She came up with a business idea, a $30 business idea. And she struggled through it. She paid back the bank with interest and took the second loan and third loan for the last 20, 25 years. Look what she has done. And you were born in this family. You went to school. You became educated. You mean to say you are not as good as your illiterate mother? She has ideas, she has work, she designed your business, and you are not as good as that? Why didn't you just learn from your mother? Take whatever she is doing, make it 100 times big, 50 times big. That's your challenge. Why are you looking for a job? If you look for a job, you start at the bottom. Nobody gives you a job at the top. Why a creative young person who is at the peak of his creativity, peak of her creativity, start something to start at the very bottom of the ladder, and then be supervised by a small boss who designs you, and rest of your life will be designed by those bosses, and you will forget all your creative powers. Why don't you be on your own? So this idea now is spreading. I was challenging because a lot of youth unemployment in Europe. About 48% of the youth in Spain are unemployed. In Greece, probably 70%. In Italy, 40% nationwide. But if you go to the south, it's near about 70% in the south. Why? How can a young, creative person sit immobilized, inactive? I said, the system that you created put a spell on that person. He cannot move. Otherwise, human being is a go-getter. That's what the human beings are all about. I even joke with them. I said, when we are in the caves, we are not sending job applications. Cave number 5 to cave number 10. Do you have a job for me? We didn't. That's our history. Entrepreneurship is in our blood, is in our DNA. But our education system, our thinking process, our policies destroyed it all. We become workers, not creative people anymore. That's the shame of the whole edifice that we built. So that's the challenge. How do you discover ourselves as a human being? As a human being who is a selfish and selfless, as a human being who is creative, as a human being who is a problem solver, and change the world. And then I talk about 3 zeros. I says we put everything in our dashboard. These are the 3 zeros that we have to achieve in our lifetime. Zero number 1, zero poverty. Nobody in the world should be poor. MDG goal number 1, reduce poverty by half by 2015. 2015 is about to be over. Some countries would do that. Some countries will come very close to it. But poverty will be reduced by half. Bangladesh has done it 2.5 years back, reduced poverty by half already. So we set 2030 poverty to be brought to 0. And I have my favorite thing. I said, after that, we create poverty museums so that people can go what poverty used to be like. And this is the reality. This is not something, because we have done that. It's not something kind of a pipe dream of something. Today, a few hours back, SDG goals have been adopted by the United Nations, which sets again poverty to be 0 by 2030. But in the UN language, poverty means extreme poverty. In our Bangladeshi language, we mean poverty means poverty, not extreme poverty, all type of poverty, to end by 2030. So it's a doable thing, but we have to keep in mind, everything we do has to focus on that. If we, okay, the United Nations will do that, that's not my business. Then it will never happen. It's my business, because this is my world, this is my society, I have to make it happen. So then it will happen. Zero number 2, zero unemployment. Unemployment is an artificial concept, is a flawed concept, it's thrown into the literature to make people incapable of discovering themselves. So we have to get away with it. Now we are told that 60 million young people join the job market each year globally. 60 million young people join the job market annually. So you have to, this is done to scare you. I said, this is not a news to be scared. Just change the language. 60 million new entrepreneurs are coming into the picture. Imagine how much energy they bring into the picture. The world will be changing, all those 60 million people bringing their new ideas to address that. Third zero, zero net carbon emission. We have no escape route unless we achieve that. We'll be done, we'll be finished. So we have to make sure, and SDG goals, there are 17 goals. One of them is to achieve that, zero carbon emission, net carbon emission. And then we take it seriously, the 17 goals that we have in that, so that we can achieve that. How do we achieve these zeros? I gave 4 kind of big strategy to do that. Young people. Young people will make it happen. The young people of this generation is an amazing generation with all the technology, all the creative power, all the access to information. If they put their mind to achieve it, it will happen. Second, technology. Technology is fast changing. But the technology is guided by 2 forces. One force is the money makers. They want to have the technology developed so that they can make more money. Second driver is the war makers, those who want to use the technology in the warfield, battlefield. So they develop the technology. There is no social driver. If you have a social business, suddenly that technology becomes a completely different thing. New technology emerges, which doesn't emerge in the other 2 drivers, because they want to make money. For example, I say healthcare could be designed in a way most of the diagnostic services can be provided with mobile phones, costlessly. Money makers will not develop a technology who will make anything costless or even revenueless. Because if it is costless to the consumers, it's revenueless to the businesses. Why should they develop that? So we have to develop it for a different reason that we want to solve the problems. We are not interested in keeping the problems. Third one, good governance. That we need good governance in the whole system, then everything puts into place. Then we create a new civilization. This civilization is unsustainable. A selfish civilization cannot take us very far. It is a self-destructive system. You can push it a little bit here, a little bit there, but it's unsustainable. So we have to move into another civilization. And we start the civilization by establishing those 3 zeros. And then new civilization starts, where we have a different kind of world for ourselves. We have rediscovered ourselves as a human being, and we establish it as a human family. Thank you very much. You want to say?
All right. So, Professor Yunus, thank you so much for that extraordinary talk. I should let you know here in the audience that we have, thanks to social Q&A, the opportunity for you to ask questions. We have received close to 60 questions, many of them with multiple votes, and we only have a few minutes here. So I'm not going to rapid fire through 60 questions. What I am going to do is try and put a couple of themes together for you, if you don't mind.
Good, yeah.
And one of the themes that comes off of what you were saying before, I think clearly you've got a theory of the case that says all humans are entrepreneurs. You have a theory of the case about the role of business in society. What role should government play, if any, to engender both of those things?
One is government should be, so far as the social business is concerned, that I was saying that it should play a role of a cheerleader, so that they see that problems can be solved by creating social business, encouraging every single business to create a social business on the side so that they can solve that. One example is a city in Germany which declared itself as a social business city. A mayor announced to all the people, Wiesbaden is next to Frankfurt, is the city lived by very rich people in Germany. It's one of the richest city in Germany. So the mayor explained to the press that we have over €1 billion budget for the city. More than 50% of the budget is used for transfer payment, for the sick, for the poor, for the welfare, for old people, for the immigrants, and so on. So this is just writing a check given away. Only less than half the budget is used for services to be provided, improvements to be made, payments to be made, and all that. They said, I like the social business idea. Now I go back to over 3,000 businesses we have in the city, telling them, why didn't you create a social business to take one of those problems that I have to handle from the city? Take a small piece of that and create a social business, solve it, so that it doesn't have to come to me. So they can save those money and use it for services and things, or tax you less. Because if there's no problem for me, Why should I tax you more than I need to do? So I can reduce the taxes and you can solve the problem. So that's a social business idea, and the city is becoming a social business city. So in other cities now emulating that, like Barcelona is a candidate to become social business city. Pistoia in Italy has already announced to be a social business city, etc. So that will be the government role, encouraging citizens to solve the problem. Because government cannot solve problems. Government can promise to solve problems, but cannot solve the problem. So they are they're very familiar with that, but they will not admit it, because if you admit it, there's no vote for you. You always say, vote me back again, I'll solve all the problems. And they go back and say, well, because of this, they made a mess. The previous administration made a mess. We couldn't do it. We cleaned it up. Vote us again now that we can do the job. They keep on promising, but it's very difficult for them to do it in a bureaucratic way. Only citizens' power can do this.
There are a number of questions about the realities of social businesses. And one of them here is really, can social businesses also deliver financial returns? This idea also of how you feel about impact investors also seeking market returns. Well, what's your response?
I have no objection to that. I'm only positioning myself to another area where I can 100% dedicate myself in solving problems, so that my mind is not cluttered with my selfish idea. So I'm not mixing selfish and selfless in the same business. If I want to do a selfish business, I'll do it as a separate business. I'll not mix it with a selfless business. Because the logic of selfish business has been developed so strongly in us, it will always push us into doing things for ourselves. So I said, why don't you just divide it, build a wall, so that the logic of selfish business cannot interfere with my selfless business.
But even in that space, in selfless business, if I understand you correctly, you're also saying that financial returns are possible. It's just a question of who benefits and where they go. So financial returns would go back into the business itself, right? It would not come to the equity
You don't
investor.
have to use the word financial return. The business creates profit. Whether it's a financial return or profit for other reasons, you make a profit. Profit stays with the business.
And there's no, in your conception, there's no space for both, right? You're saying keep those two things distinct.
No, I'm not saying it's not possible to do that. Other people want to do that, mix both selfish interest and selfless interest in the same business. Maybe they are very smart to do that. I don't have that smartness. So I feel comfortable with separating it out. I do the things only either I run selfish business, I would run, which I don't. I don't want to do it myself, but anybody who wants to do that can run selfish business separately and selfless business separately. That's why when Mayor of Wiesbaden says every business should run a parallel social business, he doesn't say include social business in your business. He says, no, don't run your business, no problem. Like Danone, when he does a social business in Bangladesh, they don't shut down their big business. They run their business as usual, but they run a social business on the side in Bangladesh. Now they do it in many other countries because they got excited about the idea of social business, so they run social business in several countries now.
There are a number of questions about microfinance. At a practical level, a number of folks are interested in the repayment rates. How do you explain such high repayment rates for microfinance, microcredit as it's operated through Grameen?
Because people see that this is the way they can continue this. If they don't pay back, the program doesn't move, doesn't happen.
So they have an interest in paying back so they can get access to more capital.
Absolutely, yes. That's a self-interest again.
Yeah. The other question has to do with the industry itself. As you well know, many have celebrated microfinance, microcredit. Others have critiqued it. And the question here that's the number one on the list is, how does the industry come back from all of the controversies, scandals, and loan shark environments into which it has evolved? What's your response?
The word microcredit has been misused, abused profusely. So everything goes around as microcredit. You put the microcredit, because in the process, microcredit became a word of respectability. People respect that word. It has generated a lot of credibility. People trust you because this whole thing is built on the trust. It's amazed by that, and they admire you for doing that. So people want to take advantage of that. Even the loan sharks call themselves microcredit. What can you do? Like the payday lenders, they say we are doing microcredit. They charge 1,000% interest, 2,000% interest, but they say we are microcredit. So there is no kind of licensing of the word microcredit. You can describe it. So many loan sharks got into the picture. They want to make money for themselves. When we created microcredit, we had no intention of making money out of the poor people for ourselves. We created microcredit to help people so that loan sharks cannot touch them. That's the story I told you. So we had no intention of turning ourselves into loan shark, but some people did. That's why all this controversy and so on. Then they show a loan shark and say all microcredit is loan shark. That's it.
And you also have the savings component as well. There are other elements of
Sure.
microcredit that are beyond just loan sharking, as you mentioned. There are a couple of questions, and I want to be sensitive to time here. We're scheduled to wrap here in just a couple of minutes. I'll close on a bigger question that's also ranked very high. But as a follow-up to what I said before about the governmental piece, one of the questions up here says, how would you overcome the bureaucratic financial regulations of government in countries to generate more financial empowerment?
Well, the regulation is to help people, not to disrupt people's life.
Yeah.
So if regulation stands on your way, you have to go through the process to remove it.
But what would it look like in practice? What are the components that are
In
necessary?
Bangladesh, when we were doing the microcredit, lots of other organizations jumped into the microcredit bandwagon. Everybody wants to do microcredit. So we are continuously telling the government to create a separate microcredit regulatory authority so that there's a clear kind of rules and procedures. People don't fool the people by saying we are microcredit. People don't fool quoting the interest rate. Sometimes people say, oh, you charge 20% interest rate. We charge only 5% interest rate. So people say, oh, this is cheaper. But he didn't tell it's 5% per week. So you just drop part of the sentence, and suddenly you look good. So you have to state in a clear terms what you mean by interest rate and what is the standard interest rate per year. And then everybody has to express it. It's in the US already, there's a law to state in a standard term what the interest rate is. So those kind of regulatory authorities, so that you don't fool by using different languages, get away with exploiting people. So that's what the regulatory authorities do. And government has agreed to that and created an independent regulatory authority for microcredit in Bangladesh.
There are a number of people here, as reflected in this social QA list, who want you to answer the question, what do you consider to be your greatest achievement?
I don't know. I keep talking. At least say, I guess I raised some questions, and that need to be addressed. Who are we? What are we looking for? What is our life is about? Is it about accumulating wealth? Or is it about making a life, a world, better place for everybody else? What do you see is the purpose of your life that you have to define? Our education system is nowhere near that. They will teach you all the great things, but never tell you who you are. I think that's a fundamental issue of education. You have to explain to young people to discover who you are and let them discuss among themselves who each one is, what they want to be, what kind of life they want to lead. And that is a fundamental to human being, not learning math and physics and chemistry and history. This is good. But after I learn who I am, then I know what use I have all those things. Otherwise, it's a meaningless exercise. But that's the exercise that we go through. So education system has become a kind of a worker-producing factory, because it's not human creating factory that we discover our capability, capacity, and so on and so forth. So that's the kind of fundamentals that we have to address ourselves, who we are, what can we do for ourselves.
Well, it's a fitting segue to the final question. As we sit here at the University of Chicago, one of the great institutions of higher education in the world, at one of the greatest business schools in the world, with a room full of students, many of whom have just started their educational career at Booth at the university, what advice do you give them as they go through this?
Change the world. This is your task, and you can do it. Any one of you can change the world. Changing the world doesn't need a big rocket scientist or something. It's just an individual human being saying that I want to do things in a different way. This is the way I want to do it. It's my mission, and this is what I do. And they're capable of doing that. Every one of them is capable of doing that. So first of all, you have enormous capacity. The important thing to remember, I think is an important thing for the education system, to remind young people, you have enormous capacity, limitless capacity. You have to just bring it out. First, believe that you have limitless capacity. You have to believe in it. Otherwise, you'll never find it. Then discover it, unleash it. If you don't do that, if you don't make an effort to unleash it, it will remain buried inside of you. You'll never know who you are. You'll be finishing your life without knowing who you are. Not only others don't know, you yourself don't know who you are. I said, discover yourself and unleash that energy. And then you ask yourself, since I have all this energy, what use I'm going to make of it? Because you have to decide what use you. Otherwise, again, it's useless energy, useless capacity that you have. You have to make sure that I use it for the purpose that I have decided to use it for. And that's the important thing for them. And they can do that.
I can't think of a more fitting way to end this conversation and to launch this academic year than on that note. Professor Yunus, thank you so much for your remarks and your time today. Greatly appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.